Chelsea Briggs, how are you?
I'm doing well, kind of getting used to just working from home.
That's crazy, right?
But wow, I can't complain.
Yeah, I was gonna jump this off with, you have one of the best smiles ever, and it seems that you're always smiling. Are you ever in a bad mood? What pisses you off?
I mean, definitely get in some moods. But no, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I like try to be positive because life's too short not to be. So even on days when I'm not having a good day, I try to find the positive in it and read those positive quotes and do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, what makes me mad, I think people hating on each other, people that spread negativity, like that's so hard for me. I just have a really hard time with that.
I just love your positivity, and I don't know if maybe it's a Midwestern thing. Like I said, I was talking to Terry Crews earlier, and it's
No big
really,
deal. Little brag there.
just,
A little name drop.
I mean, let me pick that up real quick. Hold on. No, I honestly, like, he's a dear friend and a fellow Michigander. So you will also be a dear friend, and you already are a fellow Michigander. But it really is about positivity and like lifting people up, and I think that is like the message for especially in our industry and in Hollywood. People just it's this scarcity mentality where if you get something, then that means that person can have something, and everyone really can have a piece of the pie. So
Totally. There's room at the top for everyone. I literally say that. That's always what I say. My advice to people who ask me when they're moving to LA, like what is the one thing, you have to say? And it's like, there's room at the top for everyone. In fact, like in the hosting world for me, like a lot of the jobs I've gotten, a lot of the jobs I've given away to friends it's all because we just care about each other. We want to see each other win and succeed. And that's so important. I remember when I first moved to LA, people were like, oh, be careful. People in LA, they're like shady, they're this, they'll backstab you. And like, I've actually obviously you come across those here and there in the industry, but like, I'm such a firm believer of like positivity attracts positivity. And I feel like I've been so grateful to meet so many amazing people in LA and like really just surround myself with that core group of people. And I think that makes all the difference in the world.
do you think that's something that was instilled in you? Do you like attribute that to being from the Midwest, or do you think it's just you're just naturally a positive person? Did you grow up in a really positive household?
Maybe. I think my parents are kind of same thing, like hard workers, don't really have time for people that are, negative. Yeah, I would say so. Definitely the Midwest vibe for sure. The kind of like, you just want kind of everyone to, you just want to surround yourself with good people.
Did you ever have that dreaded Michigan accent?
Oh my gosh, it still comes out. Give me a beer or two.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It comes out. And it's funny. I got such a hard time when I first moved to LA, and it definitely is still there. Like you'll hear it for sure. But
I'm looking for it now. I'm like waiting for it.
I know. You can't hear it yet?
I have not heard it yet. No, but
Okay.
like mine is completely, I don't know that I ever had one, but I'm very like crazy about my diction as well. And I think it's just obviously
Totally.
from doing what we do, but I don't know. I just, my mom always calls me, she's like, hi, baby.
Oh my God. You hear it with the parents. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so bad.
You're like, did I sound like that?
I know.
Or I'm like, my little sister's like, that's so badass. I'm like,
Oh my
I
God.
feel like, first of all, badass is just like a very Michigan thing, but also just the
Oh
way
my
that
gosh.
you say it is like hilarious.
Yeah.
So when did you move out here?
Oh, I've been out in LA for 11 years now, which is crazy. Goes by too fast.
Were you wanting to be a host?
Yeah, my whole life. So basically in high school, I used to do like the morning announcements in high school. And I just kind of same thing. Like I remember I had teachers that would be like, oh my God, we love you, but you're so annoying because you're so positive in the morning. It's what we need, but kind of what we don't know if we need it. But and I just knew that I always wanted to, host. I knew that like my big goal was I wanted to work at MTV and intern at MTV. And that's what I ended up doing. That was sort of like a big dream of mine. And went to school for broadcasting journalism, and I think it was probably like sophomore, junior year of high school that's what I wanted to do. And I was lucky because I think a lot of people, which is normal, go away to college and don't really know exactly what they want to do. But I was always I'm like a strong-willed person and also very stubborn. So I'm like one of those people like, okay, when I set my mind, like I'll do it.
Same. I was that way in high school because I was a professional dancer in my
Yeah.
first life, and so I always knew, like, from the time I was probably like 12 years old, like, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm getting out. Like, I had a plan of attack. Who were you in high school, though? Who were you? What group were you hanging out with?
I kind of was like, I was sort of in a lot of different groups. Like I'm like definitely a bit like nerdy and quirky and awkward at times. So I have that's just like who I am. But I was in like choir. So I was in like, the choir. I did drama club, which is hilarious because I'm like the worst actress ever, but I loved it. I loved musical theater. But then I was on student government, and my friends were, popular, but they were, but I just was always friends with everyone. I was never one of those people that was like, you can't sit with us. That was never my thing. But I also think I wasn't maybe cool until like later in school, because I was that just like kind of nerdy, awkward person to begin with.
Yeah, I was definitely, I can kind of get along with that too, because I was like the chameleon of like, I would kind of floated through. I played sports, but I also was in the arts. So I was, kind of in all these different, I wasn't in one group or in another group. And I feel like for me too, I was so busy doing so many other things like outside of school that I didn't have, like the high school thing, like I kind of like, now looking back was like, I really wasn't even involved in high school because I was so busy dancing or getting ready or for some, something, and I was touring all the time. So the high school experience was definitely different for me.
It's like, but part of me is like, God, I wish I could go back though, like knowing what I know now.
Yeah, that never worked.
Like, you know what I mean? Just be like, because there's the mean girls you deal with, and like, I wish I could just be like.
I never want to go back to high school just because, like, even knowing what I know now, I don't know that then the problem is you know too much and you're like, oh my God. Yeah. Then like everyone would probably hate you because you know everything that's about to happen.
True. Okay. Whatever.
What's like a daily routine for you that like is non-negotiable? Like, do you have habits, like creative habits?
Yeah, I think I'm coming out right now of right before quarantine. I was working in morning radio for the last 2.5 years. So I had a crazy schedule. I was up at 3 a.m. 5 days a week. And I was going on like maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. And so right in the beginning of quarantine, our show actually got canceled, which was sort of a blessing, to be honest, because I was so incredibly burnt out. So I've made it a thing now in quarantine, like to have a morning routine. And like, I can't even tell you how like special that is to me right now, just being able to like wake up, and I still can't sleep in. I don't know how to sleep in. I get up still at 6 or 7, but like get up and like read for an hour, meditate for 30 minutes, do like a manifestation journal for 10 minutes, and just like be present. Like, I think it's kind of changed my life, and it's been one of those things where I'm like, how did I not do this before? And also realizing I never want to not have a morning routine. Get up, make your coffee, like, send a few texts if you need to, but I also being off your phone, I think for the first hour is important.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I love that all the things you mentioned, like were about you. And like when you start texting and doing all those emails, and like it becomes not about you and not your personal time, and it's not going to further you for the rest of the day.
Well, I think, and I don't know if you'd agree with this, but like being in the industry, you feel like, and for so long, like you realize you're kind of just living for other people's schedules, and you're running from one thing to the next. And used to be like every weekend I was gone traveling, doing stuff, waking up at 3 a.m., doing the radio, then doing red carpets, whatever, and love it. Grateful, incredibly grateful. But you get to a place where you're like, oh, I wasn't taking care of myself. Like I actually never put myself first. And I feel like I was trained to feel for some reason that like guilty for doing that, like guilty for taking time for myself and vacations. And I think I've realized, especially in the last like 6 months, it's actually something you really need to do for yourself to just be healthy.
Yeah. Self-care is a huge, huge part of my day. And I think, like you said, also you're writing a journal of, I have a gratitude journal that that I write in. I think I even said something to you on Instagram when I was like, oh, I love that thing. Cause I have like the 5-minute journal, and it's like, you do forget about, you're so weighed down with all of the negativity and all the things and all the tasks, and you forget to kind of sit in those quiet moments and say, you know what? I've got a house. I've got this table is great. And like it makes you really kind of be in the moment, and it's so hard, especially with what we do. It's like to be in the actual moment.
And also just like being like courteous to yourself in regards to like how far you've come. Because I think that's always been my big thing in this industry. It's like, once you get to this place, you want to get to the next place.
It's never enough.
Yeah. You almost forget to sit in that moment and just be like, hey, like, remember 10 years ago when I was like there and now I'm here? Like, it's taking that time to really be grateful for for the struggles and for the triumphs.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like you're like, oh, if you get bogged down for I have to do this job. It's like you would have killed to be in that position that you're stressing about. You would completely have killed somebody to like have be doing a 14-hour day where you're interviewing a bunch of people or whatever. Like, what seems like a stressor now would have been the dream for the 14-year-old Chelsea.
Totally.
So what are your like physical routines?
I'm definitely like an outdoorsy person. So I try to go hiking at least once a day if possible. That's like my favorite thing to do is just hike and just be out in nature. So definitely that. Yoga is a really big thing for me. I probably in the last like 2 years, I've gotten really big into like Bikram yoga, doing kind of like the 26 and 2, which has like changed my life. It's kind of hard now because I'll do it like in the beginning of quarantine, I turned my bathroom into a hot yoga studio. And I put like, people were cracking up because I put like my heaters in there and put like the heater on in the ceiling. And like, I mean, it kind of worked, but it wasn't quite, But yeah, yoga is really, really big for me. And then running, I've gotten into running more in quarantine. And then some like Pilates classes, whenever I can just be active.
I love that. Yeah, for me, like it's like a sanity thing. I have to work out or else I just go crazy.
What's your go-to?
My go-to, I have a kind of a gym on my patio where I have like kettlebells and barbells and all sorts of stuff where I do like to get outside, but if I don't have time, I just can bang through a really quick workout. Nice. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun and easy. Do you have a vision board?
I do. I mean, I currently don't, but I usually every year I make it. And I left my one at home this year, but I do have one. I did make one in the beginning, but that's always me and my friends usually have like a vision board party, and we'll cut things out of magazines and make it every year. Like right in the beginning of the new year, we usually do that. But I kind of slacked this year.
That seems like I'm not judging you. I dudes don't really get together and do vision board parties. So
but you have one.
I do. I do have a vision. Well, it's like more of like, it's where my schedule and things are, but it has like things like sayings or things that I want to remember and like kind of, keep in my brain constantly. So it's right by my bed. So it's like the first thing I see when I get up.
Wake up. Nice.
And so and I have like a mantra that says, stay curious and seek truth. And that's like
I love that.
what I try to live by. So that's something that I'm always kind of like, whether everything else moves around because it's done by the day of the week, because I'm super OCD and it's like P-touch labeled because I'm just weird like that. But I have like
that.
I have the things that I move around, but then I have like that thing is always constantly like at the bottom. Nice. So that's like my mantra for life.
Yeah.
So you are always interviewing fabulous people. How does it feel to get interviewed?
It's so weird for me, to be honest.
Because you even tried to flip it on me right there. You're like,
I know, that's like where I'm comfortable. It's definitely like, there's definitely moments where I'm like, oh, why did I say that? I'm just not, I'm used to being in control of it and like steering things. So it's definitely, I've been trying to do more of it just so I get more comfortable, but it's definitely not my comfort zone.
It's so funny.
You're doing a great job. You're making me very comfortable.
I noticed just the way that you were like, oh, well, actually, how do you feel about it? And I was like, nope, not going to let you do it. Not going to let you do it.
I'll do that probably a few more times.
Yeah. What's your technique? And like you said, I think building the familiarity and comfort is the most clutch thing. Why do you think, what makes you a good interviewer?
I think listening, and I think, that's the biggest thing, but also I don't know, I love the idea of that we're we're humans, no matter what. If you're Cardi B or if you're us, whatever, we all have.
Are you saying I'm not like Cardi B? Is that what you're saying?
What?
You're saying that I'm not like Cardi B? Is that what you're saying? Fair enough.
Not quite. You wish. No, Cardi B is pretty amazing. But
coronavirus.
But I'm saying we all have things that we're dealing with. We all have things that make us tick. We all have things that, we're struggling with. And I think anytime you can take someone that is a Cardi B or whoever and take them down from their pedestal and get them to just be a human and talk about those things. What are their insecurities? What is it what were the things from their childhood that they struggled with? I think that those to me are the moments that I live for and I just want to humanize them.
Sure.
Because I think, and also being from the Midwest, I think I just grew up watching celebrities and it was they were just these people, like you said, that were on pedestals. Yeah. And it was all so unreachable. And I think being here in LA, it's like, oh, they're just people too. And so I love the idea of being able to like bring them down to their level of their fans and getting them to have their fans relate to them in a better way. So I love that. I love having those moments with artists. And also like, because I love music so much, I love like getting into artists' creative minds and hearing kind of their process. And I think that it just fascinates me. So, but just connecting with people. I've always loved connecting with people my whole entire life. Even like my grumpy uncle, I remember like for some reason, always at Christmas, I could be the one that would crack him because I'd give him a hard time or like make him laugh because it's like kind of goes back to life's too short. Like just let's connect. We're humans. We're meant to connect.
I love it. I just heard a slight fans. I heard it. It finally came out. I was looking for it. I love it.
That means I'm comfortable.
It makes me feel like I'm at home. No, I love it.
Yes.
It's like, it makes me feel completely comfortable. What is the weirdest thing that you've asked someone on a red carpet? Or what's a question that you were just like, oh my God, why did I just say that?
The weirdest thing. I mean, I've definitely like this doesn't happen often, but like I've definitely, not in a while at least, but I've definitely gotten people's names wrong where you'll be like, I'm standing here with, and they're like, my producer's like, not that person. I'll be like, and then they'll correct me. I'll be like, that's what I meant. You know, like there's things like that I'll mess up. I feel like this day and age, I'm pretty like, I'm an over preparer for things.
So am I.
So usually I don't like.
This is me.
Yeah. You have to do your research, right? You have to like know it. And like, so, but like I'm, like I said, I'm very awkward. So like there's definitely been times where I've like fallen. I talk about this a lot.
You're awkward?
Yeah, I am. I really am. Well, here's an example. Like this was a couple years ago at the AMAs. I was like on a platform doing interviews, like live interviews for Billboard. And I'm interviewing Shawn Mendes, who I've known for years. I've interviewed him since he was like very small, whatever. He's great. And all of a sudden, who knows why, I like stepped back and started falling. And he grabs me and he's like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's good TV.
I was like, you're a hero. You saved the day or whatever. And then Mark Cuban was standing behind us and Mark Cuban goes, nice catch. And so it's just this like funny moment, but
those are good TV moments though. That's a good TV moment.
Yeah. No,
and you didn't fall. Thank God you didn't
fall.
A
lot of moments like that. But weirdest question, who knows? Sometimes, I mean, more like when I did live radio in the mornings, you didn't know. Some days I'm like, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth right now. Because like, you just know you're like a little too tired, a little loopy. And like, those are the times I feel like more or less, not necessarily in interviews, but like, don't know. Sometimes you just don't know what you're going to say. You just have to like roll with it and own it.
You got to own it. I think that's the thing is just rolling with it. Is so many people, you get caught up in this kind of perfectionist mentality, and you're like you said, we're all humans. Even the celebs who you're talking to, you fuck up somebody's name, and then you go like, oh yeah, and they're like, hopefully they're cool, but like, I don't know. Sometimes they're not.
Sometimes they're not.
You know, whatever. You got to roll with it. It's gonna be fine. Who is the person that you interviewed or have interviewed ever that you were just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm interviewing this person?
Like awestruck over? Ooh. Good question.
Or somebody you were just like, inside you were freaking out. You're like,
I haven't interviewed Oprah yet. She's someone that like I would absolutely freak out over because I love her. Someone that it's funny because I feel like a lot of times when I fangirl, it's over like weird people. Like I remember the first time I interviewed, you're gonna laugh so hard. This is just
I'm waiting.
Like Candace Cameron Bure, who was like DJ on Full House.
Yeah, of course.
Like I remember this was like years ago. This was like the beginning of my hosting career. I remember being like, because I was the biggest Full House fan. And I remember
TGIF, baby.
I grew up with that like I get really like freaked out about for a minute. It's kind of this like full body or full circle moment. But someone recently, let me think. I feel like I have a better answer for you that I can't think of right now.
I mean, especially our generation. I can understand Candace Cameron Bure because TGIF was life.
Oh, huge.
Like what else were we doing on a Friday night?
I mean, that's like what you looked forward to all week long. Like Justin Timberlake was a big one for me because I loved him. Now I feel like I feel jaded, but like you get more excited to just like have a good interview and connect with someone, but not. Alicia Keys, I guess, is someone who her energy and vibe and what she exudes is so in line with me. And so I interviewed her recently and she was it was kind of one of those moments where you're like, okay, don't mess this up.
Let's go. Yeah.
Like, and but she like makes you calm too, because she's like super zen and like, you know.
I think she's high all the time. She's stoned all the time.
Yeah.
She's just got that like energy, and she's just like super chill and like good vibes. You have good vibes though too. I mean, you have to have that kind of disposition to do what you do. Like you can't be. I don't think you could be an angry, host and like and truthfully connect with people where people wouldn't see it.
Yeah, I think that's just it. It's like at the end of the day, everyone has bad days, but you want to, like I said, surround yourself with positive people. I think it would make my job. The conversations would definitely be very short and not fun to watch if I was grumpy. I mean, same for you. You have to, want to spread that kind of light and love in order to, I think, have a successful career, because that's,
No, I totally. Every time I see you on a carpet, though, you look just as excited as they are to be. Like everyone is just like having a good time. You're like in the middle of like, if it's like One Direction or whomever, and you're like just chatting with people. I don't know. It's just you just have this energy that's just so disarming and awesome. And those red carpets are not. People see them from the outside and they think it's some glamorous affair.
They're not that glamorous.
It's a fucking pain in the ass. Like you're walking, you're like stepping, and you're talking to someone new, and then you step 3 feet and you're talking to someone new, and it's just like.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to do.
Yeah. I think for me too, I genuinely just like love my job. Like when I get to do red carpets, I love it so much. It like, those moments in life you have where you're just like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. Or like, you just know, like it's, I when I'm there, I love it. And so I genuinely, it makes me sad when people don't find that in life.
That's how I feel right now. I feel like, like I'm just like in that moment where like when I started this podcast, I was like just because I would have these conversations with people anyways, and now I'm just adding a camera to it and letting other people see the interesting people that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Instead of me relaying the story and saying, oh, I talked to this girl Chelsea and she's so talented and blah blah blah. Like I get to share those conversations. We get to share that conversation firsthand with everybody, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And that's just it. It's like, it's so good. If you're doing something because you love doing it, like that shows, and, people see that, and it spreads goodness.
Well, if you weren't in front of the camera hosting, what else would you be doing?
Gosh, I don't know. People ask me that. I've been asked that a lot. Like, I think I really love kids. I think I would have done something with like kids. Like, I'm really fascinated with like kids that like orphanages. Like I think I would have done something with like volunteer nonprofit working with kids, like young girls, especially empowering young girls. Like that's something I definitely want to do more of as my career goes on, and stuff that I'm working on right now is to work with, obviously less privilege. And I think we're here. It's great that we get to do what we love, but I think at the end of the day, we have a platform, like we should be spreading that love and helping people in any way we can. So I would like to think it'd be something along those lines, if not in the entertainment world. That's kind of all I can really think of. I just think that's like my other passion. Yeah.
Do you ever mentor people?
A little bit. There's like, I've worked with this program, children.org, that I've adopted a girl for the last 4 years that lives in Brazil. So kind of like writing letters to her back and forth. And worked with this program called School on Wheels, where I mentor or tutored homeless kids.
Oh, wow.
So I did that for the last year, and that was, really rewarding, also really tough. But yeah, definitely like working towards, I have a project I'm excited about coming up that's like going to be, kind of in that realm, but wanting to do more of that for sure.
It seems like a secret project because you didn't want
I can't say.
You're like, I have a project
that
might be coming up soon. Well, usually people are saying something and they're like, oh, I've got this movie coming out. Yours is actually like a really good project that's going to help people. So that sounds, that sounds good.
What would you do?
What would I do? So you're trying to do it again.
You've answered though.
What I would do if I wasn't doing that, I don't know. It's weird because I have to say that like I've had multiple careers. Like I was a professional dancer, and then I was in music when I was, it's weirdly like been a lot of different worlds that I've gotten to dip my toe in. So the things that I wanted to do, I kind of just did them. Like it wasn't like an either or thing. It was like I would dance for most of my life, and then I got married really young, and I was like, oh, I was in music, and then we were working together, and then we were traveling. Then that ended, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna move to New York because I've always wanted to be a chef and I wanted to cook. So moved to New York, went to culinary school, which I, like would have never done had I stayed in that relationship, and started a whole nother kind of branch of my story. So I think it's me kind of, if there is something that I feel like I want to do, it's not like this or that. It's this and that.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've just been
cool.
kind of like adding it to, it's just like another like brick in the road kind of a thing.
So then what's your next thing?
I
know you already have it set up because you put your mind to something and you do it. So there's got to be something.
This is my, honestly, like this has been the podcast has been my baby, and I just am so proud, obviously not doing it for, money or anything like that. It's just, I genuinely love doing it. I love showing up. I love the prepping for people. I love getting deep into people's stories and really getting to know them on a granular level. So you're asking them questions that not just about like, oh, how are you? What's this and what's that? Just understanding the person that's across from you. And like, I think to what you said earlier, people don't listen, whether it's in an interview, whether it's just in real life. So many people are just waiting to talk. And so like, for me, like I'm listening, I'm hearing you, listening to what you're saying, and like in my brain, I'm like, oh, cool, that's something like I'll either bring up later, I'll bring it up now, or like the active listening thing that I think most just people in general don't know how to communicate, and we've lost that too because of texting, and our communication is all digital now, and you're not face to face with somebody, and like stuff that you'd say to someone on Twitter, I would never say it to your face. It's just become this kind of, it's become a very weird world. So I think just, being a better communicator, really working on this pod, those are like my goals coming up.
Nice. Cool. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm not letting you do it. You're not going to do it. So you always look incredibly fabulous. You're like in a dress, or I don't actually most of your Instagram, you're in a dress or maybe in a bathing suit. I don't know, but you always look great.
I am not.
You're not always in a bathing suit. I'm just kidding.
Your signature bathing suit Instagrammer, okay?
No. It's not. You are not. I was just being silly. But fashion is like a huge part of, and dressing up, your costumes are pretty epic as well. Like what got you
Halloween?
what got you into fashion and dressing up? And what are you going to be for Halloween?
Fashion, dressing up, I don't know. I mean, I've always just liked shopping and clothes, and like I think grew up with friends who we all were the same. We'd like save our money to like go get the Miss 60 jeans down the street that like cost way too much money, and that was just sort of, I don't know, I always just enjoyed feeling good. And I remember my aunt gave me this advice that like has stuck with me over the years. I remember in college she'd be like, Chelsea, I know like there's days you're going to want to like go to class in your pajamas. And she's like, that's fine. She's like, but I promise you, if you like dress up and feel good, like that's going to be how your day goes. Like, you always show up and like, look how you want to feel that day is basically what she said. And it always kind of stuck with me. However, I can't take credit for that in quarantine because I feel like I've been a little lazy. There's definitely like 3 months where I only wore yoga pants. So
still acceptable.
Yeah,
that's normal. It's still acceptable in California or in Los Angeles. Yoga pants that's a uniform. That's like a normal everyday. Yeah. But are you like so if you're gonna just go out for a regular day, you get all like a cute outfit and the whole thing?
Not really though. Oh. Like, I mean, I'll like be presentable-ish, but like I think I've kind of, I don't know, I've gotten comfortable at just being casual too. So that's an interesting takeaway about the fashion thing. Like, I guess I try to do, I have a lot of friends that are like really big into fashion, and they're like, wardrobe stylists and stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of FaceTimes with them when I'm getting ready for like dates and stuff. Cool? That happens a lot. So I can't take full credit, to be quite honest.
How has dating been in Los Angeles?
I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing that happens. Yeah.
What's your biggest dating tragedy story?
Oh God. Biggest dating tragedy. I think you just meet a lot of different interesting people, right? Like
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty open-minded, and like I said, I like to connect with people. So I feel like a lot of times if I go on dates, it's like, I've never been that girl that's like, I need to be married by this age and like have this. Like I've always been like, yeah, it'll happen when it happens. And like with dating, I try to just have fun. Like, it's like, I show up on a date to like connect with someone and just have a good time. It doesn't need to be there doesn't need to be all this pressure on the situation, right? It's like, it's going to work out or it's not, or whatever, or we're going to be friends. Like, so that's kind of my thing. I think that you definitely meet, I've definitely dated a lot of, or whatever you want to call it, with guys that are like, I don't know, it's a Peter Pan syndrome here in LA. No one's like ready to settle down, or it's a lot of games, or there's a lot of, the next shiny thing is walking down the street, and that's just the reality of it. And so, I think finding just like that genuine connection, or sometimes those genuine people, is tough. I was in like a pretty serious relationship it was like 4 years ago now. And I've kind of been single for the last now 4 years, and just kind of trying to like dive into it and just like embrace it. And yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of really great guys. I've definitely dated some great guys too, but it's tough. It's a weird place to date. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And like I said, like there's a lot with the dating apps now. There's so many options. Like it's
too much. It's honestly like, that's the one thing that like dating, because I was in New York for the last 10 years before this. I felt like it was much easier to date there than what is to date here.
Really?
Yeah, because everyone here is very flighty and like non-committal, and like, we'll make plans and then break plans. It's just like in New York, it's like, all right, cool, we're gonna go to this bar. We've got like 2 hours, like whatever. Like, and I feel like the women are more aggressive as well.
I guess that kind of maybe makes sense.
Well, I think it's also the ratio of men to women is like it's like women 3 to 1. So like there's maybe like I don't know, like a mentality of like I don't know what it is, but it just seems like out here, like you said, there is a definite, from boys and girls, this is like this Peter Pan, I don't want to grow up, or like there's so many options, and there's like people are swiping and constantly, and there's like you said, the next shiny thing, and it's like it's such a weird mentality. It's
so weird. Yeah, I mean,
you have no dating horror stories though?
Horror stories?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like a really bad.
I'm sure. Gosh, I do feel like it's funny because I have, oh my gosh.
A girl took me to church
one that's
once.
like, I could tell that would be short and appropriate. And
don't worry about being appropriate. But I was taken to church on a first date once.
Okay, how's that?
In New York.
Bold.
No, but here's the thing. I didn't know I was going to church.
Okay.
It was, we were on a rooftop bar, and we both had like 3 beers. Actually, a girl from Michigan, weirdly enough.
Okay. She must have been cool.
She was cool. We were drinking beers in the afternoon. It was awesome.
Okay.
And then she said, hey, I'm going to meet some of my friends uptown, and do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm having a good time. It's really cool. We get in a taxi, go to Midtown, and I'm just like, are they at a theater? And I thought maybe they're at a concert. So then all of a sudden, we're walking through the doors, and I'm still not making the connection because you walked into a theater, and I went down this escalator, and all of a sudden I hear music, and I was like, what is this? What's going on? I opened the doors, and it was like, welcome home to the Hillsong, blah, 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 like Bible. And I was like, holy shit, I'm at church right now.
Wow. And like could have been cool if like you were given the heads up.
Yeah, but, like, it was super weird.
That's bizarre. It was almost like she was testing you.
It was super weird, and I was a little buzzed. So then I was like,
"Oh, that's actually the weird part of it." You're like, you've been drinking before, so
I was like drinking beers, and then all of a sudden, like walk in, and it's like one of those churches where like nothing against any of that, like it was fine, but like everyone's like hands in the air, and people are crying, and I'm just like, I'm fucking buzzed. This is super weird. But then I like kind of
forgive my sins.
Yeah. So then
oh my gosh.
So then I stayed till the end, and it ended up being like this really heartfelt sermon that I needed to hear.
Oh,
No, that's what the weird thing is. It was on Father's Day, and I had had a contentious relationship with my father, and it was like one of those things that got me really emotional. And I was like, okay, well, this is a weird way of getting here, but I guess I was supposed to be here. So I guess everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And then
that's funny. I mean, the one that comes to mind, I mean, there's been like definitely guys that have like drank too much on the first date, and then it's just like, oh, this isn't going so well.
Weird. Yeah.
There's definitely been one where I've drank too much on the first date too, but we're not gonna go into that.
No, that's the one I want to hear.
There's a reason. There's probably a reason. Anyways.
I want to hear that story. That's the story I want to hear. We're like, it was Chelsea.
Oh man, I definitely. I shouldn't be saying this, but I definitely got sick on a first date one time, and it was not my best moment. really is what happened. But
Happens to
the
best
other
of
one
us.
was this one guy I met. It was like at a wine bar. This is like, I just actually felt really bad because I could tell he was so nervous. And we were just chatting, and like, I feel like I'm pretty, like, can disarm people because, like, that's what I do for a living. And so, but it just really wasn't working. And he had this like white shirt on, red glass of wine. And he's like chatting. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, and he made a comment about how he's like, the last time I wore this shirt, I was actually drinking red wine and I spilled it all over, drops it all down his shirt. And I was like, oh my God, this is not happening. This is not happening. This is not happening. And we were sitting at like the corner of the bar where like everyone who walked into the restaurant could see us. So it was like, not like we were not hidden. It was, and he was just sat there. And then I was like, I remember we were like wrapping up the date. And I was like, oh, I gotta order some food now. I gotta stay with it. I felt bad. Like, I'm not gonna just like up and peace out on this guy now. And then he like walked into my car, and I just felt like he'd like red.
Was he actually, wait, did you stay because he was cool, or you stayed because you felt sorry?
It was because I felt sorry.
Yeah, that's the worst. Do you?
Or I mean, he'd sent me. I mean, I didn't ghost him, but like.
Yeah. But do you feel like too, because it is a weird kind of superpower when you're used to talking to people and you could carry through a date and make it interesting even if you're not, it's this weird like
when you can't, you're like, oh, this isn't good.
This is really bad. Yeah.
Not good.
This is super bad.
Yeah. But oh my gosh, I mean, I could probably write a book. I'll next time I see you, I'll tell you another dating story. I used to talk about these on the radio all the time, and it was like, but there's so many.
I love it. So when did you start Hollywire?
So I started Hollywire, right when I moved to LA. I was working in production. I knew I wanted to be a host, but it was sort of one of those things of like, okay, how am I going to make the transition? And so Hollywire was actually already, it existed as a website. And so I found it and reached out to the people that were running it. And I was just like, hey, I would love to work for you for free and like build out your video department. And that was kind of the initial thing. And so I kind of started as an intern, but I was like, 23 at the time, starting as an intern. I was just like, I started working for them, building it out. And then it just became like my thing. Cause it was like, I was the one, there's changes to the company. And so I kind of acquired it. And over the years, because I had this vision, it became successful. It was sort of how I became owner of it. But yeah, it was funny because I didn't know what I was doing. I just moved to LA maybe like 6 months before. And when I got it, I was like, I would just start like cold emailing publicists to get on red carpets. And I had no clue what I was doing, but I just was like, fake it till you make it, just make it happen. And we did, and like was able to build a really great team around me and stuff. So that was like probably one of the most powerful things, was like believing so much in a vision and like coming from such an authentic, like place of just wanting to spread like love, like positivity in my own way at that time, and spread music and all that stuff, what I love to talk about, and see it become successful and see people like respond to it was really cool. And still to this day, like I've been working at Billboard for the last 4 years, which is obviously a huge platform, magazine, music, reputable music company. I've worked for Dick Clark Productions, done like TV stuff. And still to this day, what I get recognized for is Hollywire. And it's kids coming up to me being like, you were my childhood. I grew up watching you. I grew up, like you inspired me to be a host. You inspired me to follow my dreams. And that's like the coolest thing, I think.
That's the thing though too, that most of the online publications or online resources for that is not just like talking about people like what new albums coming out or what, something positive. It's usually like the Perez Hiltons of the world, where it's like trying to catch somebody, or the TMZs, and it's trying to like the negative stuff that sells. So like, do you feel like it was much harder going a more positive way?
I mean, it wasn't, which was cool for me. Like I never was going to do that. Right. I always knew who I was and how I wanted to kind of like, just how I wanted to be and how I wanted to talk to my audience. And I think that was the biggest lesson, was that I proved to myself that like, hey, you can just be you. You see all these other outlets doing it this way, and that's not me. And I don't want to ever, be that. I proved to myself that I could just be me, and an audience responded to that. And that there was relatability there, And so I think that was really cool.
So what's next for you?
Big dreams, lots of things. I mean, I have a lot of different goals, but like, one thing is working on a show that's going to be able to like help people that are less fortunate. That's always been a show that I've had a vision for, that I'm working on right now, that's in the works, that we'll hopefully be able to talk about sooner rather than later. So
I'll be waiting.
I know. Next time I see you, maybe. But yeah, I think for me, it's like you get to this place in life, and in specifically for me, the industry, where you're like, okay, I can report on Justin Bieber's album only so many times. I know his favorite color is purple and he got a haircut today, but like now I want to report on something or do something that's bigger and that's making a difference and giving back. And so it's like something, it's funny because I've been manifesting it for the last like year or two. And like this year in quarantine, like something came up that I'm really excited about that I think will be cool. But even beyond that, I hope to do more. And then like I love music still. So the idea of hosting, executive producing my own like next generation singing competition show is something I'm working on, and maybe a dating show too, because that would just be so fun. And I think I'd be so good at it. But like stuff like that, like little hosting things that I think that I've always wanted to do, that I'm kind of.
What was the dating show that back in the 90s? Oh, God. The Carmen Electra one she hosted.
Oh, Next? Is it Next?
No, that was the MTV show.
Singled Out.
Singled Out, yes. That show.
Fun. Like, how fun. I'm sorry, but like.
I miss stuff like, that's the one thing I miss about like our era of MTV was like MTV Spring Break and like Singled Out and
TRL was everything.
Yes, TRL was the bomb.
Like everyone came home from school to sit in front of the couch and watch TRL, and that was
I wanted to be Carson Daly. I was like, oh.
That was why I went into hosting. Carson was like my idol, and then it was cool to take over his radio show, because that was a big moment for me, because I was like, Carson, and he's done such a good job with his career.
He's legit.
Like, continuing on. And
I don't think guys like Carson or Ryan get enough, credit for what they like, because they both started out in radio. Like they knew that whole world, and they're like, they mastered that world. Because you just see like the end result of like, oh, I'm doing American Idol, and it's like very shiny, whatever. But you don't see all the hard work that kind of goes. Or Carson, like going back to like his knowledge of music is insane. He's not just like a host.
There's so much. And he's always been the type of host too that is so like disarming, like so just like casual and cool, and like knows how to just keep it real. And I respect that so much.
It is funny seeing him in an apron doing cooking segments on Good Morning America, though.
But like, more power too. But then on the week, and then during the week, he's doing the voice. So it's like,
I think it's more jealousy than anything, because I think I wanted Matt Lauer's job. That's like I wanted, like, to sit there and be able to interview people and then talk about politics, and then. But that's kind of the great thing into what you were saying earlier is about like now versus when you first started Hollywire. The opportunity is endless. Like I'm opening my laptop and we're having a conversation, and I'm going to edit it and put it out, and it's going to be a thing. Like you can create so much easier. Before we didn't have phones that we could just pick up and go like, oh, I'm going to shoot a little 2-minute special of whatever and show what you do.
Even when I was in high school, I would have killed to have a YouTube channel and like started hosting that young, and that's the thing. Like I always say to give advice to kind of that younger generation. It's like, just start creating content, like just start doing it. Like just start working at your talent, just go at it, make the mistakes now. And then, it's pretty cool. And with Instagram, with TikTok now, it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
In a good way, but also sometimes not.
It's definitely overwhelming, and probably too many people who are doing it shouldn't be doing it. But there are a lot of people who, like, now there's no gatekeeper. You're the gatekeeper. It used to be you would have to wait until your agent called you and said, oh, you have an audition to go here. And then like some people would see you and maybe you got booked, maybe you didn't. Now it's like you can create from anywhere. I think that's the cool thing about that you learn from like the pandemic as well, is like, you can be creative anywhere. You can work from anywhere. You can be productive from anywhere. It's the opportunities are endless.
Totally self-sufficient.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself in quarantine?
What did I learn about myself in quarantine? I learned to be more open with. I think that because I've been go for so long, I think there was a lot of things that like I wasn't realizing. I wasn't being fair to myself about being fully open, like open-hearted in like so many ways, like with friendships, with relationships, with dating, with family. Like I feel like I wasn't showing up fully present and fully just like open. Like I think my whole life, or I I've always kind of had this like hard ass side to me where it's like, oh, something gets tough, I can like pick up and be like, oh, whatever. And I think that I'm really been practicing leaning into kind of the discomfort and leaning into like just being better at that. And that's been big for me. And I think that goes along also with just quarantine, being able to like be still and like be alone with my thoughts and meditate and get to know myself a little bit more. I think it's just been this process of like digging deep and growing to be a better human that I'm grateful for, because I feel like I don't know that I would have taken this time had I not been forced to take this time, which is pretty scary and crazy to think about. But I feel like for the first time, I feel very open in my life in all regards and kind of just like trusting the process.
What's your greatest fear?
Failure.
What does that mean though? What does failure mean?
Well, I think, I think for me, I've always had such a vision for career and, I think the idea of not succeeding, and I have to remind myself I've come so far, but like, just the idea of not getting to where I want to go because, not being good enough, like that. I think that's just such a big fear that I've always had. This is like a whole other story, but I was born with one leg shorter than the other when I was younger. And I had my leg lengthened 3 inches when I was 12. So I had this like really intense surgery. And so I think that like, I always had this feeling of like not being good enough or not being like being different. And so I think that like pushes me a lot. Like it's kind of my biggest strength because it makes me like, it pushes me on the days when I'm like, struggling. But I also, I think it's like a deep down thing of like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe everyone will find out that I'm not good enough because
imposter syndrome.
Can see. But I think that, and then losing people I love, definitely. Like that's something that, as you get older too, you're like, oh, how do I deal with this?
It is such an interesting thing, the like imposter syndrome, where you feel like
imposter syndrome is so real.
Not
you're like,
feeling.
One of these days, people are gonna realize I'm not qualified for this, or like you're like, I'm not good enough to do this.
You're like, I'm just gonna keep smiling and look really pretty.
Exactly.
What's your most treasured possession?
One of them, well, it's sad, actually gotten stolen from me a couple years ago, but I still feel like I have to think that I still have it. But my grandfather had this cross necklace that when he passed away that I got, and it was just what he wore all the time. And it was so meaningful to me. And in the pouch that I kept it was this note that he wrote to me, and we were super, super close. And it was when I moved to New York, and it was like this letter of him, like a poem. And then it was him being like, I went through my, bills this month and had $50 extra that I wanted to send to you. And it was like, I was this like college student that had no money, and it was like meant so much to me. And I like read it at his funeral. And sadly I had was robbed a few years ago, which was just crazy. And they stole along with like other jewelry. And so that was like really sad, but it was like my most prized possession. But it was also a learning lesson of like, I didn't care about anything else that was taken. I was just like, it was realization of just like how much, you have no control over like material things, they're disposable. But it was like this one thing that I was just like, it was had so much like meaning behind it that was tough to lose. So that's probably
what's your background? Like what's your ethnic, like what'd you grow up, like your family background?
Just like German, nothing crazy. German is like my last name, Briggs. German, English, just kind of a little bit of everything. Gotcha. But German
like,
mainly.
Same. I'm like German, Polish, and Ukrainian. So
yeah.
Who are your heroes of fiction?
I don't know. My heroes. Like I said, Oprah is my hero.
Or just someone like, but of fiction. So like something made up, something like, or a book you love. Or what are you reading right now?
Right now, okay, so to get into like all my mindfulness stuff, but I like right now my queen is like Gabby Bernstein. Do you know? I love her so much. She's helped me through a lot of quarantine. Just like
she married friends of mine.
What?
She married. She was the officiant at my friend's wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my friend Dan and Noelle. So yeah.
I read like all her books in quarantine, and I think she's great. Jay Shetty, I think, is great. I'm reading his book right now, Think Like a Monk, which is awesome. Deepak Chopra, so much respect for him. I I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like.
No, it's good. It's good. So you're just on a, do you feel like that's just what you're on a path to just betterment? Like for me, like I wake up every day and I'm like, how can I be better than yesterday?
Totally. Yeah. And also like, the idea that like knowledge is power. So I think that like for me, I've always liked reading, but like never really read as much as I probably should have, because I would get home after being up at 3 a.m. and have to go to bed at 8 p.m. And so now it's like just trying to like, I don't know, knowledge is so important. Reading is so important. I think that, betterment, just learning as much as I can and learning different perspectives, especially like given the times right now, learning about other cultures. And I think that's so important.
You should get Audible. Do you rock?
I do have Audible. I mean, do you know how many books I'm reading on, like listening to on Audible right now? It's like, if you look,
are you bouncing between them? I've done that.
Oh my God. If you look at it's like whatever mood I'm in, I will show you my library. It is ridiculous.
Is there a book that you come back to?
Yes.
Like, is there one what is it?
Always, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. Have you read that?
No, I have not.
That's like, for like, if you're into like spirituality and like the Gabby Bernsteins of the world, like that's like almost like their Bible. Like that is,
She was a little crazy when she ran for president. It was like a little weird.
But I kind of loved it, but I agree. I mean,
I liked.
But everyone that's running, I don't want to get
it was all weird. Like, it was all weird.
But also The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Of course.
And then this is a good one for all my ladies out there. Can I swear? I can swear.
Yeah, you can swear.
Fuck Him. Nice Girls Always Finish Single.
Whoa.
I recommend this so much. Get it on Audible because it's great. That's a good one to come back to.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked now.
So good. I mean, honestly.
All right, give me a takeaway. Give me a takeaway from that book.
Oh gosh.
That's gonna be the next iteration of this pod. I'm gonna do the Dive Right In book club, and I'm gonna have people on, and we'll talk about books.
It's basically, oh gosh, I feel like I'm not gonna do the book justice right now. I mean, my friends talk about it often, but like, it's I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give my secrets away now that I've taken from.
Wow, I'm taking notes.
It's about how when it comes to guys.
Uh-oh.
If you're not getting what you want from them,
but that seems like games. Hold on, is that not games?
Less and having them come to you, like it's like. It's not about, I'm not going to articulate this well, so I apologize in advance, but it's like.
Sounds like games.
Maybe, but it's also like, so say like you want to like spend more time with a guy and he is like not making time for you, then you make
He's not your guy. Then he's not your guy.
I mean, maybe you should just give me
I should just write this fucking book for you right now. It's like, why are you trying to spend time with a guy who's not making time for you?
I don't know. Well, no, it's like, say it's your husband. Okay. So it's like
your husband's a dick.
say he's like not, I don't know, guys get distracted and they're like not making time for you. And so it's like making your own time. I don't know. I'm not gonna be able to explain it.
No, I want
make your own plan so that when they come to you and they're like, hey, are you available? You're like, actually, no, I'm not, but like maybe on Saturday. And you're just basically making yourself not so available because they're not making you a priority. So then they're gonna be like, oh shoot, now you're rolling my eyes.
I'm not rolling I didn't
listen, I'm not a good relationship.
I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm just saying that if I'm more about like, hey, do you want to hang out? Let's hang out. Like if I don't make time for you, there's a reason I'm not making time for you.
Well, that's, he's just not that into you. That book is
that book is also
but no, I see what you're saying.
Bizarre though. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I'm just not into the game. That's what I think. That's like an LA thing, to be into the games. And like, I understand. My thing is like,
I'm not a game player, but I do feel like here's what I want. I'm going to have you on my podcast and I want you to listen to this book and then we'll talk about it. And I want to know the guy's take on it.
Okay. Fair. My take right now, my brief take right now is I hate it.
I know, I mean.
No, I'm kidding. For me, I feel like if you're into somebody, you will make the time.
Totally.
And the effort.
It should be simple, but that's the problem is it should be simple, but in LA it's not simple.
And if you're busy, like I understand what she's saying, like making your own plan so that he doesn't just think that you're waiting.
You're not so available. You're not available when he wants you to be.
Right, but you are a busy woman entrepreneur anyways, so your time is already limited. So that like right there is already like an attractive thing when someone goes, oh, that person like has a lot going on, so that when they do make time for you, it's actually special.
Yeah.
And it feels special.
Totally.
So I don't know. Who knows?
Whatever. I mean,
I don't know. Who am I to give relationship advice? I don't know
Same.
What are you going to do? I think that's probably a good place to end it.
Anyways, but for my girls out there, read the book.
Okay.
DM me. We'll discuss. We'll exchange notes. We'll see what works, what doesn't work.
For my girls out there, I love it. Well, Miss Chelsea Briggs, you are awesome, and thank you so much, Michigander to Michigander, for taking time. Wait, who's your school? You're CMU, right?
CMU. Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, I gotta
Fire
go.
up chips.
Chips.
Good time.
That was in the middle of nowhere. That school.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. I've been there.
Sure.
I've been there.
Thanks for having me on. This was really fun.
It was a lot of fun, and hopefully I will see you in real life.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk to you later.